Ryan Mooney is simply crazy about live theater. He acts, he directs, he goes to plenty of plays, and he heads up a young company called Fighting Chance Productions. This weekend, Fighting Chance opened Stephen Sondheim's A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. Ryan is one of the performers rather than the director, and it is my pleasure to welcome Ryan Mooney to Studio 4 to tell us more. How nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks for having me.
High-tech guy Steve Dotto sang your praises when he was here last.
Well, he probably lied, but I really appreciate it.
Do you think he does that on occasion, perhaps?
Once in a while. Once in a while.
Yeah. But he's in the play. I think that's why he mentioned it.
He is. Yeah, he's playing Marcus Lycus, the runner of the brothel, House of Courtesans in the little street where we all live in the show.
Okay.
Yes.
And look at him. I can't stand it. Anyway, who do you play? Tell me about it.
So I play Pseudolus, which is the part that was made famous by Zero Mostel and then later by Nathan Lane. And he's a slave, and he hates being a slave, and he wants his freedom. And he'll do anything to get his freedom. And so when his master says he's in love with one of the courtesans, he decides he's going to get them together. And unfortunately, it's not that easy. A lot of mayhem breaks out, and mistaken identities and craziness and that sort of thing.
How great.
Yeah.
And a lot of slapstick.
Lots of slapstick, lots of very silly humor, but smart humor. Smart
Somebody
humor.
called it a good, clean, dirty show.
That's
with
pretty
lots
much
of belly laughs.
Lots of laughs, lots of skin, lots of beautiful women and nearly naked women. So yeah, it's very good.
Nearly naked's good, unless you're Ryan Kessler. Have you seen the picture?
Well, they photoshopped his face on my body. I don't know what happened.
I know.
So,
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good hockey body. If I do say so myself.
Yeah.
You, on the other hand, will be body in this play.
With a AW, for sure. For sure.
With an AW. How did you learn to act? Where did it begin for you?
I'm still learning, I think. But I went to an elementary school that had quite a strong choir and drama program. So it really started when I was quite young, doing sort of school Christmas pageants and that sort of thing. And then it just sort of ballooned from there. Sort of every school that I would go to, I had a teacher that was quite good with drama or music or whatever. My parents knew nothing about theater, but were very great at bringing me to stuff once I sort of started to be interested in it. So I went to see Joseph and Cats and Phantom and all those sort of big touring shows that would come through and get the CD and listen to it excessively, and yeah, so it just sort of went from there.
So you knew, as a young lad, you wanted to act, direct, be part of live theater.
Yeah, I knew I wanted to do it. There was something about it, something about that electricity that that happens when you're, and even in the audience, on stage, backstage, whatever, something about that sort of electric energy was really what drew me to doing theater.
When was the last time you acted?
Oh, probably in a musical a long time ago. And I've never had a part like this. But it's one of the things with having your own company.
Did you cast yourself?
Well, we talked a lot. A lot of people said, you should do a show, you should do a show. I'm really glad I did, because being back on stage really helps you learn how to be a better director. And so, you know, doing it, we went through a lot of options. And this was sort of the one where I thought, okay, well, I can at least be funny, I know that much, and the singing isn't too difficult, even though it's Sondheim and the lyrics are very, very tricky. It's sort of, someone called it baby Sondheim the other day, so it's sort of Sondheim for beginners. And yeah, so, but the last time before that, I was in a play about 3 years ago, and that was the last time. Yeah.
And Sondheim, this is his first musical.
Not his first that he wrote music and lyrics for. So he wrote lyrics for Gypsy and for West Side Story, and then this was the first one on Broadway that he wrote music and lyrics for.
Both.
Yes.
How did you meet him?
Oh, well, he was here a few years ago doing a talk at the Vogue, and if you spent a little bit more money, you got to go to a little shindig with him, and yeah, and I got the chance to meet him and shake his hand and chat with him for a little bit, and that was really, really nice. And he was very humble. He loved Vancouver. He said he was just in awe of Stanley Park, actually, especially because he was born and raised in New York, and so he, you know, Central Park, he knows very well, but he said it was nothing compared to Stanley Park.
When you go to New York with your artistic director's hat on, what do you look for? How do you spend the days?
Well, I mean, when I'm there for 10 days, I'll see 12, 13 shows, as many as I can.
Off-Broadway, on-Broadway.
Off-Broadway, on-Broadway. And 2 of the shows, actually, so I saw Musical and Musicals, which then we did in Vancouver, which was one of our bigger hits, and Forbidden Broadway as well, I saw and liked it, and so brought it here. But I mean, I always say a bad show in New York is still a good show. You know, it's just
got
the
that right.
spectacle. I saw last time I was there, I saw Gypsy with Patti LuPone, and what was so cool about it was they had a 28-piece orchestra. And it was just, I mean, that's the way it's supposed to sound. And nowadays, you know, you have we have a cut orchestra. You can't afford to, you know, have that many people. But that's the way that those were written.
Why did you call your production company Fighting Chance?
Yes. Well, you know, it's what we really wanted to do is give new people an opportunity. So one of the mandates of our company is always 50% of the cast has to be new to the company, has to have never done a show with us before. So that's really, really important to me.
Do they have to have acted before?
Yes, yeah, well, I mean, hopefully. But we do. If not, it might make my job a little harder. But but no, we really wanted to give people the opportunity to show their skills on stage. And I think a lot of times people can become, you know, complacent with just working with people that they know a lot of times. And so it was not only for actors, but, you know, set designers and lighting designers and costume designers and directors. And there's a lot of people who come fresh out of school and don't really have a place to get sort of their foot in the door. And a lot of people who've worked with us have now gone on to you know, bigger things, and nothing makes me happier when that happens.
Exactly. What didn't you learn at acting school? Assuming you went.
Yes, I did. I went to the Canadian College of Performing Arts. What didn't I learn? Probably, well, it's easier to answer what I did.
Well, you're always an apprentice when you're an actor.
Yeah.
It's the longest apprenticeship in the world, that in comedy.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really learn, you know, about reviews. Reviews are such a big thing. You know, people care about reviews so much, and I do too. But someone said a few months ago when I was getting nervous about doing this was, you know, take the good reviews the same way you take the bad ones. And I thought that was the best piece of advice, because I thought, you know, it's true. You can't get a big head, and yet you can't be upset. You know, you've got to find a happy medium. So.
Yes, and you also have to ask the question, who wrote this, and what do they know about what I just did?
Yeah.
I always thought it'd be very difficult to be in a play and be the one who the critic says, did not knock that out of the park. This particular, everybody else was swell.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
if you're that
but
one
Ryan
person,
was terrible. He should stick to directing.
That's what I keep thinking I'm gonna read. Ryan's a great director, but actor not so much.
Right.
That's
Yeah, he shouldn't have cast himself.
Yeah,
You didn't cast yourself.
Totally.
Who is directing?
Kathy Wilmot, who is a fantastic actress. So we did Sweeney Todd last year. She was our Mrs. Lovett, and she's got such a strong sense of comedic timing, and and she's someone I really trust. And so I thought, okay, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to take this risk, and it really, really is a risk, is I need someone, a team that I'm going to be able to trust.
Sure.
And so she was the first one I asked.
What did you learn from her about directing, or have you learned much yet?
Yeah, I have. I've learned how important it is to come in and really, really know the script. You know it better than anyone else. I'm very organic when I direct. I like to bring people in and, you know, just play around with it. But, you know, you can do that, but you also have to know the script really, really well. And that's something I've learned from her. You know, I've learned a lot about how to give notes and how to, you know, just being on the receiving end of them. I've learned a lot about how to then do it to people and make sure that they know that it's friendly and it's for the best of the show, not to be too harsh with them.
Exactly, and I think really good directors also allow an actor to perform, to find their sweet spot, and to allow their magic to come forth without too much direction, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. They say that casting is 80%, and I really believe that. I think it might even be higher. You know, you put these people in a role, and you have to trust that they're going to be able to do what you're asking of them, and to come in with ideas of their own. And that's what's so exciting, is when someone... The best thing is when someone comes in, gives something, and then I get the praise for it. I love that, because it makes me look so good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
A tough decision, I'm sure, to do a tough play like Laramie Project.
Yeah, we did that back in 2008, and you know, I just loved the show. I loved the show, and we try to do musicals and plays, so we try to mix it up a little bit.
Well, for people who didn't see it, it's about the death of a young boy in Wyoming.
Matthew Shepard, and he was beaten and tied to a fence, and just, it's a horrific thing.
It was gay,
it was the first sort
crime.
of big hate crime, what they labeled a hate crime. It was one of the first ones where they were like, this is a hate crime, this is what a hate crime is. And, you know, it was all over CNN, because he was in the hospital, he was in critical care, he didn't die at the when he was tied up, but he did die later on in the hospital. And so, you know, it was on the news, you know, 24 hours. People were watching, and the play is just fascinating. It's made up of documentary interviews that they did with townspeople in the town who knew him, who didn't know him, who were affected by it. Because obviously, when something like that happens in a small town like Laramie, it affects the entire town and the image of the town.
Arts funding, tough in this economy.
Yeah.
The heartbeat of a nation.
Yeah.
How do you raise money for?
We've been very fortunate that we actually don't get any sort of government funding, but we've been very fortunate to have.
That's too bad.
One day we're hoping.
Get that grant.
Yeah. But we've run solely based on ticket revenue and some very generous donors in the past, and really a wing and a prayer, for lack of a better word. But we built a really solid audience through doing social media, through doing you know, sort of free advertising, and also the shows that we do a lot of times are geared towards, you know, a 20 to 30 sort of age range, even though we have people coming in who are, you know, older than that and younger than that. But I mean, we did Rent, we did Tick Tick Boom, we've done a lot of, you know, shows that that appeal to that age range, and so we get a lot of them into the theater. Plus, because we use social media, that attracts them as well.
I didn't think about that, but that would be change-driven, social media.
Yeah.
In theater and how you.
Well, I feel, you know, I think we were doing it before a lot of people even really knew what Facebook was, for example.
Right.
And I really do feel that, like, Facebook helped us build our company, because without that, you know, we were doing events. We would just all invite our friends through that, and that's how we got people aware of it.
Sure. I mean, you tweet Ryan Mooney tonight.
Yeah, yeah, totally. You just tweet
Tonight.
out there, and you never know. It's so crazy. You never know where it's gonna go. You never know who's gonna come by and see it. So,
well, as you know, young actors, young companies have to do other things.
Absolutely.
Some have day jobs. Some go to school.
Yes.
What's your day like today,
well,
just for instance?
So I have school today, so I'm heading to Langara after this. I just do general studies there, but I have an anthropology midterm that I'm writing in about 4 hours.
You do?
Yes.
Have you studied up?
So, I told my girlfriend I studied up. I don't know. I haven't studied that much, but no, yeah, I definitely, you know, I love just learning and being able to just take general classes. I took a course on the history of the 60s just after we did hair last summer, and so yeah, so it's just been a really great
hair
learning.
down to there, long, beautiful hair.
Yep.
Now, tonight, before you go on stage,
Yes.
do you have a ritual?
Well,
do you meditate?
I haven't
do you
done.
sing?
No, I don't meditate. No, I try to get my energy up as much as possible. So I sort of helped pick the pre-show music, so that helps me just, you know, dance. It's a lot of energy. It's a very different sort of tiring acting than it is directing. When you direct, it's a very mental tiring because you're thinking, you're constantly worried. Acting is very, very physical, especially this show. I mean, I'm up, down, thrown around, you know, jumping on people. People are jumping on me. And I remember I just got home last night and I was like, I'm so sore. I'm so sore. And, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
Apparently it's going to happen.
Yes.
A funny thing is going to happen.
Tonight. Let's hope.
A funny thing happened on the way to the forum at 2 previews you've had.
Yes, last night and the night before.
And they went well?
I think so. People,
so you feel good. Do you feel good?
I'm stoked for tonight.
You're stoked.
Yeah.
Okay, until the 23rd, Jericho Arts Centre.
Yes. Yes.
Tickets available.
Tickets on their website, jerichoartscentre.com.
Okay.
Yeah. Great
Thank
to meet you.
Nice
Thank
to
you
meet
for
you.
having me.
Thank you for coming by, especially when you have an exam.
Oh, no problem.
I'm impressed. A funny thing happened on the way to the forum tonight. Jericho Arts Centre. Ryan Mooney, our guest. You can catch all of our conversations on YouTube or follow us on Twitter at Fanny Studio 4. Tomorrow